Hello, everyone. I'm Karmacut,
And I'm Moydog, and welcome to Command Comms.
the podcast where we talk about everything and anything related to tactical shooters.
So, happy holidays, happy new year, first podcast of 2021. And man, what a year. And we're what now? Official 1-0. We're double digits into the podcast, brand new year. I'm feeling great. How you feeling, Karma?
Yeah, it's been, God, it's crazy. It's crazy, really crazy to think we got through 2020 and so much happened that year. But yeah, fresh new year. Hopefully, a lot of cool things on the horizon. We talked about it in episode 9. So if you haven't heard that one, go ahead and check it out. But in today's episode, I guess one of the freshest things, right? A fresh start to 2021 is going to be the Tarkov wipe, right? So that happened about a week ago, and I've really been digging it. I've been streaming and playing Tarkov. How's it been treating you so far?
It's been pretty good. I, to be honest, I've still been doing a lot more of squad on streaming, and we'll talk about the Twitch drops events and everything going on in the community here later. But so I've been in and out. After the event, I'm definitely going to be a bit harder into Tarkov, but I've been really enjoying it. I started picking it back up maybe a month or so before the wipe actually started, just to get my feet wet. I was honestly, dude, I didn't think we were going to have a wipe for maybe until March or something. So I was really just trying to get back into it to get the quests and just trying to understand everything that is Tarkov again. And boom, we got a wipe Christmas Eve, right? I think it was Christmas Eve, almost out of nowhere. And I've been really enjoying it. I've been having a blast playing Tarkov.
Yeah, it's just so refreshing. I don't know. Tarkov is such an interesting game because on the grand scheme of things, not much changes during these wipes. I mean, occasionally they added the Big Woods expansion, right? But that doesn't really change the majority of your gameplay. There's not like new systems. I mean, sometimes we get like some medical system updates, but whenever you have a wipe, like the feel of the game is drastically different, even though the changes are so minimal. Like maybe they add some guns, maybe they tweak a couple of things here, but every time they drop a wipe, it's like a big event, and it's just really interesting to see how just wiping accounts like that can make the game feel so incredibly fresh again. I think it's just something that has to do with like, I don't know, maybe things get stale, but like it's really weird because you aren't adding too many new things. You get a couple of expansions on maps and a couple new guns. But I don't know. We're going to be talking about it here. So, yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on wipes? This is one of the only games that does it. I know, Diablo and things like that kind of have seasons where you start and, a new character and stuff like that. But most other games, they don't really wipe or reset your status. Aside from Rust, I guess, would be the closest comparison.
Yeah, it's weird because at first I thought this was kind of a weird mechanic, and when I started playing more and more Tarkov, it starts to make more sense. And I've gotten to the point, I'm only what 17, 18, 19, something like that, and even at that level, you are now getting into your class 4 5 armor. You're running a little bit more into some meta ammo, and that's just, we're not even what 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks post wipe. You're now getting into that. So it's this kind of, I feel like everybody glam or just builds up and just makes something out of this early wipe. But I think there's a lot of truth to the early wipe feel, and being able to wipe everyone's account. I mean, the good players are still going to be good, the bad players are still going to be bad, rats will be rats and chads will be chads. But when you remove that ammo, when you remove the armor, and when you do put everybody in a PACA and just an AK without a buttstock and whatever you got lying around, it makes for some really, really interesting fights. And I know I've had some moments where I thought I was going to be dead, but hey, he was wearing a bad ammo or bad armor. I was wearing bad armor, and we just kind of got lucky with the pin. Whereas if this was later on in the wipe, I would have probably been just absolutely deleted, because of just the way that ammo and damage modeling works in the game. So it's a crazy time with the wipes. I absolutely love it, but I think people build it up a little too much, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not saying wipe is over, but we're pretty much past that early wipe feel for a lot of times that you're jumping in raid, I think.
Yeah, and that's something that I know a lot of streamers have been touching on too, is like the early game in Tarkov is really, really short. we already have people, what was it, like not even 2 weeks? We have people who are level 30, level 40, already, like, essentially, for all
No,
intents and
no, no.
purposes.
51. I think landmark is 51.
Yeah, it's kind of insane how fast some people are blowing through the content. Like, I think that it really does need to slow down because, like, in about, I'd say, a month tops, most of the players who try hard the game are going to be there. I mean, granted, like, not everyone's playing it like that, but I think just the idea that you can just blow through like a good portion of all these early game weapons, all this early game ammo, and just so rapidly reach that endpoint, you shorten down the replayability of that game like pretty drastically. Because I think with all the weapons, all the different armors, right? There's so many different level 2 armors. There's so much like other ammo that doesn't get used because you get the best in slot ammo too quickly, or you get access to the flea market and then you have access to the best in slot stuff so fast. There's just so much content in Tarkov, like for that early game just crap armor that you'll use for maybe 2-3 days, and then boom, level 10, access to flea market, you get everything. And it's at that point, it's like, I feel like it's almost a waste of all this like different ammo and different armor and different equipment that just will never have too much of a use because you can just buy stuff off the flea market. And I've ranted about the flea market. Maybe we get into that a little bit later in this podcast. But I think the flea market is pretty bad for the game in that regard. It's like it just makes it too easy for everyone, and it's even more exploited, I guess you could say, by the people who are no-lifing the game. So when I talk about, wanting to nerf the flea market, it nerfs it across the board for everyone, but I think that like it's less likely that you as a newbie are going to be getting slammed by medikits over and over and over again by the people who can afford them and get access to them before you can. So I don't know, that's a whole thing we'll get into. And then another thing that you talked about was how like the Tarkov wipes are like this really unique thing to the game. And even to Tarkov, they're not supposed to be something that's there long term, right? The end state of Tarkov, they're not planning on having regular wipes. But my question here is like, it almost feels like wipes are integral to the game. It's a mechanic of the game. And I've talked about this a lot before on my stream, is I think that they could really, really lean into this kind of wipe in season thing by playing. Yeah, I know you have played a little Diablo, right? But you know how Diablo 3 right now, or other, kind of, action RPGs, you have seasons, and you have a hardcore ladder and you have a standard ladder. I think if they took that concept to Tarkov, that would be like really powerful, right? Because you have the people who never want to wipe their accounts, that's your standard ladder. You have the people who want to have their account wiped every single season, that's the hardcore ladder. And it's like, or you could do a whole bunch of stuff there, but I think making this into a mechanic, an actual like game function or feature, I think there's some potential there.
Yeah, it's weird because the wipes are, I can see it as a season type thing because it has that feel that we were able to bottle within the first few days. Is one of the, like, if you haven't experienced a wipe, it is really fun. And just because the wipe is pretty much over the early wipe feel doesn't mean you shouldn't play or whatever, but it's so unique. And I get the season type mechanic, but I feel like you're almost just delaying the inevitable. People are always like, landmark is always going to get 51 on day 10, like Pestily is always going to get Kappa first, this kind of stuff. So it's, people who play this game at that level, yes, they're out there. I think the vast majority of players are obviously not, and that as well. But the wiping as a complete mechanic in the future, I would be disappointed if it wasn't in the game somehow, if I'm being completely honest, because the progression system, maybe they can adjust the quest a little bit, maybe, or maybe you prestige or whatever it is, like Call of Duty has prestiging. Like, I don't know what it is, but having those people who just sit on their gear and just the money, and they just have, they have altins upon altins that they just don't even know what to do with. It's that kind of stuff where at a certain point it just gets a little, the PvP gets stale, and it's the PvP is what makes this game. And as you were saying, there is so much like armor, so many weapons, ammunition, all this stuff that literally doesn't get used because it is absolute garbage 2 weeks into the game. And if there was a way to make that viable, it would be kind of fun. I like the weapon modification in Tarkov is the most I was gonna say amazing, but it's also frustrating. And I mean, you look at the edit preset button, and sometimes you just think you're gonna make an amazing weapon, and then you got to play around with the ergo and recoil and everything. But all in all, it's incredible what they're doing with this game. But at the end of the day, you usually then just go onto the wiki or do a quick Reddit or YouTube search, and then just make the exact same weapon that everybody else uses, because you need that weapon and you need to fire this exact ammo, and that's it. And it really trivializes all the work Battlestate puts into this game when you get to that end state so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, another thing about like the wipes and everything is that like the early game and late game Tarkov playability is so drastically different. Like the feelings that you get and the vibe from Tarkov early wipe and late wipe are completely different. The game is extremely hard and challenging earlier on, and the more you play this game, the easier it gets, which is kind of backwards, right? Most games, to keep you interested, will continue to get harder and harder and harder as you play it. But because of the way Tarkov has like the hideout set up, like once you get the Bitcoin farm, like it's you're just printing money at that point. Like the game doesn't necessarily get harder for players the more that they play. It gets a little bit harder in some of the quests become ridiculous, I guess, but that's like artificial difficulty. Like what gets me playing, and I think what gets a good portion of the original players on Tarkov playing, is that the game is so punishing and it's so challenging earlier on that you're constantly like fighting the game, trying to get your money, trying to survive and figure out what kit you're going to use, and you have all these problems. But as you play more and more, you get further along into the wipe, it's like you start accumulating more and more money. And in Tarkov, money solves a good amount of problems. It doesn't solve everything. If you make dumb decisions, you're still going to make dumb decisions. But it helps a lot. If you have a lot of rubles, you can wear that class 6 armor, you put an Alton on, boom, you're not going to get killed by like 60% of the population because their bullets are just going to bounce off you magically. So there's something that's like needs to get looked at, I think, for the endgame of Tarkov, because I feel like, I think we talked about this before too, is like there should be some kind of endgame, like actual endgame, not like labs, because labs is like kind of end game, but it's accessible early game, but it's not really that hard because you can go and just extra. There needs to be like really hard end game, either PvP areas or PvE areas where it is a real challenge and it's like very hard to survive, and it's like meant to be something that you go in with a good squad with a lot of gear with, and it can be lucrative. But like I feel like labs is a little bit too cheesy, and it doesn't solve, or it doesn't fit that like end game feeling as much as I would like. So there's a couple of things that I think Tarkov needs to work, and they're still not, you know, full release, so there's a lot of things that they can be pushing and fixing and adding in the future. Like we're not even close to seeing what this game will look like, because apparently they want to string all the maps together, right? And then I really get Diablo feels like when they talk about stringing all the maps together, that 100% feels like a roguelike to me. It just feels like they should draw on some of these game mechanics. But I think that 100% this white mechanic is fun. It's good. It's fresh. They just need to figure out how to keep it that replayability, how to keep that fresh without doing too many weird artificial things like gifts or drops that you know, to freshen or liven people up to play. I think the wipes in and of themselves do that job. So moving on to the next and kind of segueing here.
Wait, hold on a second. Drops? Well, okay, we'll get to drops, sir. 1 second. Are you suggesting that if people want to just be good at this game, they cannot just be good at this game and just play this game and get really good, and they then all of everything that they've worked for 2 months is just thrown down the drain? I'm playing devil's advocate, but I also kind of feel like I get the power users, you know? I get but I also get the feel where it's like, dude, this is getting so old. But then, I mean, then you have those times where like, dude, I'm running this stuff and it is awesome and I'm blowing through everybody. So it's like this, yes, you need some way to curtail it, but like I almost
well, that's
feel
why
like
I think bracketing it off, right? So you have a standard and hardcore. The people who want to never wipe, they can never wipe. And the people who want to wipe, they can wipe. I think that's like a good balance, right? Because I'm pretty sure that Tarkov's player base up until this point is big enough to sustain both.
You think?
I think
like,
so.
I'm
It's
thinking,
pretty big.
Like I mean, when we start talking about partitioning groups
Mm-hmm.
in games. My biggest example of how you can absolutely fail by doing that. Obviously, this won't go the PUBG route, but you had so many different partitions, and then you even have like World of Warcraft where it has a classic and retail and stuff like that, which is obviously a little bit different. But it's like it's I don't know. I get a little nervous when you have the wipe and don't wipe. Like if with classic WoW, they're talking about having the only classic WoW servers, or the vanilla server, and then you have your Burning Crusade server, which progresses in the expansion, while everybody and you're just slowly like funneling people, and I feel like you'll have some weird community that's maybe smaller or not really as like you're trying to get all your stuff done and you just can't do it because you're in the non-wipe or the wipe, all this type of stuff.
I think
I feel
Tarkov's
like
so big right now. I don't know what the exact Steam numbers are, but it's
well,
pretty
I'm gonna
big.
say the Steam numbers are 0 because it's not
Or
on
not Steam, but the player numbers, because you can't find the player numbers for Tarkov, right? So we have
Yeah.
no idea how many people are actually playing. But
No, it's insane because let's take a we're doing this live. I'm doing this live, right? Tarkov right now, and this is a little tweaked because this is the drops event. But
Multiplier, get him
Tarkov
some
right now,
eight.
just on the Twitch category, is over 300,000 viewers. And so if we assume every one of those viewers has a Tarkov account, which more than likely they do, or at least a multiple of them, let's say like 250,000. Let's cut them a little bit because multiples. I mean, even that alone is insane for an active, like people actively trying to right now get Tarkov content. Like
mhm.
that speaks volumes to the strength of Tarkov's community and the health of the game. It's just when I just get nervous with these types of things that if you try to cater to all the audiences, you end up catering to no one.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that many people are asking for too many other splits aside from wipe, no wipe, right? I feel like that's one of the biggest dividers because a lot of people feel like they blow through the content too fast. And a lot of people don't like wipes, and a lot of people do like wipes. The thing that makes me think that like partitioning this is like kind of okay is that like when you think of how many players are in a raid, it's no more than 15 for every single map. You don't need large like you 100% don't need that many players on each partition. I'm pretty confident that there are more than enough players that will fill both just because of how the matches are in the game, right? It's not 40v40, it's not 100-man PUBG servers or anything like crazy like that. It's 15 people. Like it's pretty easy to fill these matches, I think. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of lost potential there. Or even some mechanic, like you said, some kind of prestige. Like maybe every time you hit the reset account after you get, a kappa or whatever, a certain level, you get like some new clothes for your PMC, right? Something as minor as that, that's cosmetic, I think would be fine. Because I don't know. I feel like after a certain point, I stop playing the game. I just stop playing the game until I wait for a wipe. And that it doesn't feel good when I don't know when the next wipe is, and I really want to play the game, but I don't want to play the game like right now because late wipe is absolutely annoying, and I don't want to be, getting absolutely pooped on by people who've been playing the game all like the entire time and just farming in Bitcoin farms and are putting on level 6 armor every single raid they go into. It just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't feel fun for me. Or even when I get my account, and I know I can just reset my own account. I guess that's fine. I guess that's one solution, and I've done that before, where I'll be playing in a wipe, and I'll get to a point where like, okay, I'm done with this account. I have the ability to continually get whatever I want to get every single raid or whatever every kit I want to wear. I have the money to afford it, and I can continually just bankroll it. It gets boring to me, like being able to do that. That's why I never make my own guns. I always use the guns off of people that I kill, just because that in and of itself of like using a different weapon that I didn't create every time going into a raid, that's fun for me. So I don't, maybe I'm weird like that, but I'm pretty sure that there are people who must think like me, right? Because there's a reason why these wipe events are massive, right? There's something about a wipe that draws everyone back. And I think if that was a little bit more controlled or a little bit more intended or organized, then I think it could become a true feature of the game. And then you bracket it, people don't want to, they don't have to wipe it. But
yeah. No, I I'm leaning more towards that. I would totally be on board with it. It's just y- yeah, yeah. You know what? Like, yeah, we'll see. But I would probably play the early wipe if we did partition it, and then after like maybe a month of doing. Well, see, that's the thing, dude. Like, if I got to do all those quests every season, I don't know if I could do that. Like, you know, like if we have like how long was this last wipe? 6, 7 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seems reasonable. But if you have seasons, how do you know how long a Diablo season is?
I have no idea.
If it's, I mean, if it's timed well, you make it work for the game. I can see it working. It just the biggest issue that I just run into, and maybe this is a good segue on how the current wipe is going, is just some of these quests just start getting crazy. So, like, and not necessarily like even the killing people. It's like, dude, I woke up one morning at 5 a.m. Normally I wake up and try to do like actual work. I woke up and for 2.5 hours I just kitted up and I ran factory getting flash drives. Like I just loaded up, got everything, would run straight to the office, kill a couple scavs, maybe a PMC or two, and then jump off, extract, and then that's it. Flash drive, great. And eventually 2.5 hours finally got, my second one. It's that kind of stuff where it's just like, oh, it's a bit rough.
Mm. Yeah, I can see how this is like also going to be somewhat biased because I play Tarkov very differently, right? Is I never try to grind for things. I don't repeatedly run into rage. I don't pistol run stuff. Like I just play the game. So I just play it, and if I get I try to do my quest by getting some things, but I don't like do any of the die respawner or run in run out pistol running trying to look for certain things. Like I've never really done that.
Whoa! I did not pistol run it, and I did not die, sir.
Okay,
I had my
okay.
AK. I had my AK. I got the best armor I could. We were running. I owned that office. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. It just some of these things, I guess, on that point, it does get frustrating when so you can get trader locked between under like one quest.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I was
I've
looking for
experienced
Beast
that.
2 up until this morning as well, and it was just driving me insane. So it's that kind of stuff where it just gets that gets exhausting, and it's like, dude, I want to just play the game. But if you can buy from a trader something that's 3,000, typically on the flea market it's like 50, and
Mm-hmm.
later on in the wipe it's a little bit fine, but right now it's like, dude, I'm trying to upgrade my hideout. I got other stuff to buy, so it can get a little tiresome.
Yeah, I understand that because I'll hit some quests too where I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that quest. There are plenty
Yeah.
of quests that that I know in the game that I know that once the second I unlock it, it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that one. So that's never really bothered me either because like I've never been a completionist as far as the quests are concerned. Like, and I guess once again going back, Tarkov is different for everyone, right? Some people want to progress. Some people literally just want to shoot people. I know people who literally don't care about the quests. They don't care about anything. They just want to get in there and get into gunfights. And I know people who are focused on just making the most money they can make in the world, right? So I guess it's different for every single player. And so it's really hard, I guess, because like you said, partitioning off for every single, group would actually splinter the group pretty well. So I don't know how many different people want to play the game in a different way. It's just if I had the ability to, I would turn wipes into somewhat of a regular thing. I wouldn't have probably more than 3, maybe 4 a year tops. But that's just my thoughts on it. Or they
Or
fix it and they make the early game last longer.
yes,
That's the alternative, right?
I think we're both on the same page on that, because like if you when you play, and maybe this is a good segue into how your wipe has been going, but I was pretty surprised how quickly you unlock things, and when you get up to not quite meta, but you're on
This is
the
level
tip of
10.
meta. Yeah, level 10, and level 10, if you know what you're doing, and even if you don't really know what you're doing, or maybe it's been a while, you can like fail upwards to level 10 relatively quickly, get a couple tasks done, have a couple good raids. Just honestly, if you just survive, that gives you such a good bonus. and nab a scav or two, and you're good to go. Play it super slow and just survive, and you're gonna unlock the flea, and there you go. You got everything.
I would almost be okay with them pushing flea market back to like level 25.
25?
Yeah.
25?
Yeah, just think of what that would do to the game, right?
Okay, so let's say you do level 25. Do you think something as simple as that would fix an ammo and armor problem?
I think it would. Because here's the thing. The higher you set that threshold, the flea market requires more people on the flea market to function, right? So even if you have a whole bunch of people, like maybe not a whole bunch, but like a splinter of the population rush to 25, until they reach a certain critical mass at that, like they're still going to be selling things for like extremely expensive because the supply is going to be low because very few people are at that level. The demand's going to be high. So I think as naturally as the game progresses, the people who rush don't necessarily get this huge advantage of getting access to everything because all these level 10s are posting all this stuff on the market. It's just the other high level players, which I think might control the higher level players just farming up, buying it, and then wiping people. Because the issue we have right now is like level 10s who are not rushing or not, trying to min-max or not trying to slay, like the non-landmark, the average player that hits level 10, when they find level 6 armor that is found in raid, what are they going to do with it? They're going to sell it.
Sell it immediately.
Yep. And that player that's been grinding from the beginning who has a shit ton of money, what's he going to do? He's going to buy it. The more people who are at level 10 that have the ability to supply the market you're literally just feeding the higher level players. That's literally what you're doing with the bar so low. You're literally giving these high level players the gear that they will use to murder you. That's just how that works. Because you at level 10, if you're an average player, you don't have the money to buy that level 6 armor that you're posting and that level 5 armor. We pushed that limit to level... I mean, I haven't thought this all the way through. This is an idea that we just came up with tonight. So there's probably going to be issues with this. But if we push that to level 25, let's say, right? Very few people are going to be posting on the market. So those items are going to be very expensive. Supply is going to be low. Demand is going to be high, right? So I think it kind of controls that until enough players, right, reach level 25. And that's kind of the signifier of like, hey, we've reached middle wipe is like when most of the people have reached level 25, then that's like mid wipe, and then like, okay, the economy's starting to go and people can actually buy and sell, because at level 25, I feel like you should have the money to purchase off the flea market. At level 10, you're not really doing it aside from like quest items, but 25, you should have some money bankrolled, and then now you're not only selling stuff, you're also buying like gear and stuff. I don't know. I just think that's like completely just a shotgun idea, but I think something needs to happen. Like level 10 flea market, I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's just a terrible idea. Everyone can reach level 10. They just get the found and raid stuff. All the lobies sell their stuff because they need money. All the grinders just boom. Look at all these level 10s. So many level 10s flooding the market with stuff with gear that they aren't going to use. So the demand for them is low, but the demand for the higher level players is there. So they can just buy and gobble up this stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird how the flea market functions right now. And like the only concern I have is that we make sure that whatever changes go into the flea market, they don't make it easier for the hardcore players and make it harder for the normal players. That's like the number one thing that when any tweak gets mentioned or anything changes with the flea market, you just need to make sure that exists, that is being paid attention to, just because that's the one thing that could literally break the game is if you make it too easy for the higher level players to do it. And I think at level you set the bar to level 10, it's just like you're literally just feeding these players stuff.
You got people who I can think of a couple people who've recently picked up Tarkov last wipe, so at the tail end of this maybe in November, December, and they were having trouble. I think for anyone who's brand new to Tarkov, it can be a real rough go to 10. And I think us who've experienced, and even if you're not hundreds and thousands of hours into Tarkov, even if you just played for maybe a couple months, going up into a wipe, I think you got the wherewithal to get yourself to level 10. But a brand new person, the biggest thing that I've found has been helpful this wipe is knowing where the spawns are, because you got a map like customs, even woods, uh, a little bit maybe shoreline if you get out in certain spots. But if you know where the spawns are, I think that is almost going to help you survive and get to level 10 compared to anything else. And that being able to make it out of the grinder that is big red trailer park is going to get you to level 10 and just ahead of the pack, and it just snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, see,
knowledge, it's knowledge.
I want to imagine a world where players will use the gear that they find rather than, hey, I'm just gonna sell this and buy exactly what I want. That's, I think, what kind of makes Tarkov feel a little weird to me, because they do survival mechanics so well, and then it's like you hit level 10 and you just run stuff through the flea market to get whatever you want, which is weird, right? Because like if we push it back, then people who find level 6 armor, they're going to use that level 6 armor. It's not going to some big boy who can just afford it, right? It's you're using the stuff that you find because I mean, unless you want to hoard it for 25 levels, you could probably put that armor to good use. And I think that's good gameplay, right? Instead of like the gameplay loop of I found something, I'm going to sell it. I found something, I'm going to sell it. I found something, it's like I feel like you get a really good survival feel, or really lean into it if you go, I find something, I'm going to use it, right? I feel like that's a much different gameplay loop in people's minds. And I think that's like a very, I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm just speaking from my own experiences. Like that is fun for me, right? Like I find something,
no, that's what I thought Tarkov was going to be originally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people like that fantasy aspect of it, where you do just pick up the weapon and you piece out some things, and hey, on this raid I actually found a stock, or I finally got this trader where I can barter to get something to add to my weapon. And I think that dude, I don't know, didn't they say, now that I think of it, I feel like it's almost like this asterisk on everything where they say, oh yeah, well, it's beta, so when the game actually releases, it's going to be a lot harder to use all this stuff. That type of feel. Like I almost feel like I remember them saying something like that, where in the future the flea market's going to be a lot harder to use, traders are going to be a lot harder to use. But I don't know if that's ever coming. I am totally on board with the restrict it a little bit to make it just harder, whether that's the flea market levels, or whether you make it almost, I mean, they actually did a pretty good job with the find and raid type mechanic, and players now, their items can't go on the flea market. I think for the most part that helped out for the early wipe quite a bit, actually. Compared to other wipes. But it's these types of things. I feel like they're trying to slowly implement those things to slow it down, but maybe you're kind of at the point where it's like, dude, let's just see what meta is broken and let's just release it, and then we just start to slowly dial it back and see if we can't find a good sweet spot.
Yeah, see, I don't trust anything that developers say at all anymore. This
Really?
is like how the industry has gone.
Why
Like
is that?
from indie games to AAA games, nothing of what they say ever really matters, because either they run into technical issues, they double back, but like I can't think of the last time I got a game that was delivered or dev says something and that's when it happened and that's no offense to anyone. Like it's just how it is. I get it. Like things happen. It was just like me. Like I don't believe anything now until I see it. I just don't. That's just how the industry has gone, for better or worse, and that's just like where we are now. So like when Tarkov talks about they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, or even Squad or whoever it is, like the number one thing, the idea that's gotten into my goddamn head now is like, if I had modding, I could just do this. That's the idea that gets into my head whenever anyone says anything, or whenever I have an idea about the game. Is like, it's somewhat frustrating, but all in all, Tarkov's in an okay spot. Like these are just things that we want and things that I think would make the game better, like with wipes, and getting that experience that I know I enjoy out of the game more consistently. rather than, okay, I'm going to play Tarkov for 2 months and then now I'm going to wait 4 months for a wipe. I would rather like play this game consistently over a long period of time rather than I'm going to binge this shit for 2 months, 3 months, and then never play again until the next wipe. Because that feels like a very unhealthy gameplay loop for the game, right? That just doesn't like, if that's how like you're, and the thing is, this is what happens as you play the game more, right? As you get better at this game, this is generally the kind of loop that you fall into. Like I talk to all my friends and that's generally what happens, right? You play, gets late wipe, no one plays the game until the wipe, big wipe, everyone comes back. Like I feel like that's so inconsistent. Why not try to make that a little bit more balanced across the board and healthier for the general gameplay community? But I don't know.
No, I think a lot of people have that same feel. It's just, hey, you're gonna have some of these guys, the stash. It's a big stash. The stash value.
Mm-hmm.
People love it. So you know, the wipes and the weapons and all this type of stuff. Yeah, I'm all for this feeling, because I'll tell you right now, okay, let's talk about our actual experience. So the past 2 weeks, you've been. When did you actually start the wipe?
I think
Did
I
you do it, like, day
started,
one?
I'm on day 10, so I'd say maybe a week ago, maybe a little more than a week ago.
And what
Maybe 2
level you
weeks
at?
ago. I think I'm at 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you been pretty much just playing when you stream?
Yeah, I only play Tarkov when I stream. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. So we want to make sure, let's just put all of our, hey, oh my God, they've been playing Tarkov for 2 weeks and they're not level 40. All right. Just want to make sure. So yeah, I streamed it like maybe a handful of days, 2 days, 3 days max. And then I've been basically my overtime. If I have some time to spare, I do like a raid here or there. So I'm 17 or so. And I've been really enjoying it. The quests have been not too bad, even though we get hung up on finding delicious beef stew or a flash drive or something like that. But overall, I've been probably my most comfortable wipe so far, and a lot of people have been complaining about hackers and head eyes and all this other type of stuff. I've been pretty good. How have you been?
I've had smoother wipes go, but like it's not, I haven't run into anyone I would call a hacker. I haven't had like any starter kills. I haven't had anything weird happen. I've had some bad luck and I've had some good luck, but that's just how it goes, right? And I was thinking about this right now as well. Like the way that the game is set up, I don't even want to play this game too much. Like I want to play it the right amount. It's not a game that I want to be playing or can play for hours and hours and hours on it, because I know the more that I do that, the faster I'll reach the point at which I won't want to play anymore. It's really weird. Like I know, like if I binge this and I rush to level 30 in 2 weeks, I will wait until the next wipe, or I'll reset the account, or I'll just get bored. Like that's just, it's such a weird thought, right? That like I'm actually trying to stop myself from binging or playing this game too much, because I know like I'll hit that wall, and I'm going to hit that wall regardless over a period of time. It's just like, I don't know, it feels weird to me. It just feels like there could be something better done here into making that experience. But like, as far going back to your original question, this wipe has been fine for me. I have not run into too many issues. I'll let you know what is completely has me on full tilt, and I'm completely unhappy, and I think it's unacceptable that this is a thing. The New Year's gift of 900 rounds, 762 BP is the most ridiculous idea like I could possibly ever imagine BSG putting into the game. Like the whole reason that you and I have been going on and off about for the past 30 minutes now is the fact that wipes have everyone starting at the beginner level. Everyone's fresh. It feels like somewhat of a fair playing field. And then BSG says, hey, everyone in the game, literally everyone, we are going to give you guys 900 rounds of 762 BP that goes through every single piece of armor like butter. Go ahead and have fun. I don't know what was going on here, because if we go back to that first discussion we had, right, this disproportionately helps and accelerates the progress of experienced players, because they will know how to use that ammo and excuse my language, poop on everyone else and they'll just snowball. Like it's just really weird how they thought that would be an okay thing to do. One, not even, I think it was like the same day as the wipe, but like within like
day,
3 days of the wipe, like I don't know what was going on in their heads. Like the drop event, I'm kind of biffed about too. Like, and we can get into that a little bit. Like I think it's great for the community, and this is a whole thing. So we'll get on to drop events later. But the gifts for this New Year's, I'm fine with gifts to a certain extent. I was fine when the gift for the New Year's was a key tool. That was fine. That was great. It's great utility. It doesn't disproportionately like assist any, particular player group. It's something that everyone can use. But giving people this kind of ammo is just disgusting. I've gotten killed like I'd say about a fourth of my deaths are from 7.62 BP going straight through my stuff. And it's just really silly. It's just what are your thoughts on that, giving people that kind of ammo that early?
Yeah, so I am a little bit I'm pretty much on the same page. I thought I like these type of community events where they celebrate either the New Year. I know other games, other Russian games. I believe Battle State. Maybe they just have a sale, but like their Victory Day. Over World War II. I think somewhere in the summer, maybe May, something like that. There's all these types of events where they give back in game. That stuff is really cool. When that stuff is literally the best ammo for almost because everybody was running weapons that can use this. Like it's not like you're having some weird niche round.
Yeah, it's not like I know what you're saying. It's used in SKSs. It's used in AKMs. It's used in that Vepr. It is the round that everyone at this early game has guns for. It's not like it's not like an MP7 round. It's not like some weird 308 round. It's literally
it's not niche at all. And this is ammo that goes for like 1,000 rubles from beginning to wipe all the way to the end of wipe. This is meta ammo, and it's the type of stuff where, if you're brand new, and I've had people tell this, to me when I'm shaking off the rust and I'm trying to get back in, they're like, dude, just slow it down, grab an SKS, spend the money on BP, just slow it down, take a couple good shots, you'll kill someone. Doesn't matter what they're wearing, you'll kill someone. Everybody's using AKs, everybody's using or AKMs, everyone's using SKSs, especially things like the Vepr to try to get just your quest done, because you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. And now you have just free ammo that will destroy anything that comes across you. And that's the type of stuff. It's so confusing, because I absolutely love these types of community involvement stuff. But when you pair up a wipe that has been hyped for 7 months and then that happens, it sucks.
It turned me off. Like it was probably one of the most disgusting things. And I think the reason why I get so upset about this is because I remember hearing a quote somewhere that like Tarkov is supposed to be hardcore, right? Like that's like their standard, that's their motto, that's their direction. Is Tarkov is not necessarily supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be hardcore. I believe there's a quote somewhere. I don't know where it is, but that's what it is, right? But that they do this weird crap where, hey, fresh new wipe, here's a whole bunch of free stuff. Hey, hardcore game, you die, you lose everything. We're gonna give you free stuff just for sitting in the stream. Like it's just weird. Like I don't know, just completely backwards decisions that don't seem like on the same page as far as the direction of the game. It's I think it would be one thing if it was like cosmetic or utility stuff. Like maybe for the New Year's stuff, they give away the key tool, right? Or they give you maybe like a couple cases. I'm fine with cases. You even make the cases. Here's another thing. You just make the cases not found in raid. Boom. Right? That's a great gift. Everyone's used it. Can't be exploited. Or like it's not going to snowball anyone. But you start giving experienced players BP, like what do you think is going to happen? They're going to crap over everyone else, snowball themselves forward, and now you have this huge proportion of the player base that either A, knows how to use their BP and has used it to got to their level, or B, has decided to sell their BP to the people who can use the BP so they can continually get pooped on. Like it's just so backwards. It's I don't know.
Wait, hold on. I want to say I think this event, I don't believe, was the ammo found in raid?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I'm gonna say it isn't because the drops aren't, and I think, but it's still, so aside from the selling it to people, you still are going in with just a boatload of ammo that you just now can shred people.
Yeah. See, I've not even accepted this New Year's gift out of principle. Like it's just
wow, out of principle.
It's disgusting. It's unacceptable. I honestly think this is unacceptable. It's honestly trash.
Hold on a second. I believe. Yeah, okay. It's not found in raid. So, all right. But still, it's, yeah, the principal thing. And so it's kind of a good segue into the drops event. And this is something that on Twitch, if you link your Tarkov account to your Twitch account, you sit in a stream, and periodically, it's like every 3 or 4 hours or something, you just get a random item. It's not found in raid. It can be anything from the printer paper all the way up to Kiba keys. You got everything in between you can just get by essentially AFK in a stream. That type of, like, this is a great event. Like it's amazing for the community. We were talking before. I'm looking at some of the people who are some of the top streamers right now in the category, and they were basically all right. No one's gonna. They weren't made because of Tarkov. You know, a Tarkov doesn't make someone. They make themselves. They put themselves in the right position. But a lot of careers can be made by something as simple as a drops event. And I'm seeing a lot of the same faces that were around for the first one last year, and who have continued to work hard in the community and just be there day in and day out. And they're pulling crazy numbers now. And yes, maybe a lot of them are AFK. But the community side of thing cannot be ignored. No, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a 300 IQ marketing decision. 100%. It is perhaps the best way to really maximize influencer marketing with almost zero. They don't have to. I don't think like it costs them anything to run these events. I don't know. They might have to pay Twitch something to be able to run a drop event, but I don't even know if they have to. It costs them nothing, and it draws so much publicity. It bolsters their community. It supports their content creators. As far as like everything out of game, it is possibly the best decision ever made for marketing a video game in the past, I don't know, maybe 10 years, right? Like it's just genius. But when it comes to the actual game, it is so off point and off direction that it kind of baffles me, right? Because this is a game where if you die, you lose everything. But hey, we're going to give you a chance to get the free shit, like the best free stuff, keys that are worth millions or you know, a couple millions and like really good loot for just AFKing in a stream. And it's just like, I don't know, it's so like backwards to me. It's just, it feels so like, I don't know. Maybe if it was, like I said, maybe Tarkov.
If this was mid wipe, would you care?
No, I don't think I would have cared as much if it was mid or late wipe. I don't think I would have cared as much.
Now,
but then again,
let me hold on a second. Hold on. Before there, if they did this drops event and then January, okay, I think that it runs until the 8th. So you got up until Friday for drops. And then mid-January into January, they wiped. Would you be annoyed?
Me? No, I love wipes. I don't sit in drops. Like, okay, I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't even get drops out of principle. I don't do that either. Like that's just me though. I'm weird like that. Okay, like I don't expect everyone to play like this. Okay,
you have missed out on some amazing. I've gotten milk. I've gotten paper. You don't understand the amount of high quality drops that I have received, sir.
Yeah. See, I don't even do that. Like I don't care about drops. I don't want drops. I don't need drops. It's something to where like I would like drops if it was something cosmetic or something just I don't know, like just something that doesn't affect gameplay too much, especially this early on in the wipe, you know, because you get a good drop early on in the wipe, you get a right set of keys. That's going to change how this whole wipe plays for you and you alone. You know what I mean? It's something that I don't like giving out free stuff in a game like this. In a game that was built around it being hardcore, and maybe this comes from me playing from before the flea market was a thing, or from before, drops were a thing. Maybe this is just me reminiscing, right, about through rose-tinted glasses.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days of Tarkov. And it could totally be that, right? But this is from me buying the game and knowing that this is a hardcore game and listening to the devs say, hey, this is a hardcore game, and then watching them give out free gifts and watching them give out drops, and it just leaves me scratching my head. That's the most confusing part here.
Yeah, I definitely get that sentiment. I guess the way, because I've been thinking, as I am a Twitch streamer, this is our sphere. Although you stream and make videos, YouTube has no integration with this type of thing, and that's the one benefit between Twitch and YouTube. Is it seems like these types of things Twitch just nails, and Tarkov has just taken the Twitch API and just run with it in spades on how they can just capitalize on it. It's weird. It's kind of like I get the whole not wanting it, but it's almost at the same, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, who cares? It's like the amount. Yes, you're gonna have people. People have come to me and said they've gotten both Kiba keys from the drops. They've gotten a multitude of reserve keys. Someone just got the manager's office lab keycard thing. Some of the best loot opener keys in the game, and I'm over here getting paper, and I'm kind of like, whatever. But when I actually think about it, bad players are still going to be bad, and good players are still going to be good. And yes, if a good player is able to now not grind to get that 1.5 million to buy a key that he would have, maybe he uses elsewhere. But it's kind of, I guess, how I was feeling with the wipe thing. Yes, you're going to give a little handout. Yes, it might seem a little crappy, especially now it's literally the beginning of the wipe. It definitely was a little question mark on my mind since it's the beginning of the wipe. But on the other hand, it's like, dude, yeah, have the Kiba key. Go run into the middle of interchange and get killed by Killa or another person who's actually trying to play the game, and see what happens. And I'm a little bit in the so what camp, even though I completely understand the hardcore freebie sentiment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like, I don't necessarily drops are too big of a problem. I just personally don't like them. I don't think they're game breaking. I just think that personally it doesn't align with the direction of the game. It's fine that they have it. They're gonna keep happening. Nothing that we say will ever change that fact, just because it is so good for Battle State's business. Like, nothing is ever going to stop them from doing drop events. That's just a fact. It makes them way too much money. It's just, it doesn't align with the direction in my mind. It's not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is giving people 900 rounds of BP at the beginning of the wipe. I'm much more concerned about that than the drops. I think the combination of the two just kind of inflates that problem a little bit more, because we have both at the beginning of this wipe. But like, at the end of the day, I think drops are going to be good for the studio and the creators, and overall, in turn, the community. I just wish that the drops were a little bit more aligned to the gamers. Like, maybe you get, I don't know, something cool that doesn't necessarily affect gameplay too much. Maybe not keys. Maybe you just remove a couple things. Maybe you just remove the keys. Like, fine, you get armor, sure, whatever. But keys have, like, unlimited uses, at least the ones that don't,
I kind of like that. It's, I don't know, though. It's weird. It's like this being able to have the chance of getting something like this. I've seen a lot of people just now start playing because they got some stupid key that, if I'm being honest, they're never going to take advantage of. Like, we all know that guy. And, sometimes I feel like I act like that guy, where I'm like, oh, I got the key, and I go in and I just potato everywhere, and it's like, okay, well, what's the point? It's just whatever. So it's kind of like, it can definitely be a way to get people back in. And I know that's still, handing out freebies and just, that definitely is a little bit against a super hardcore game like this. But I don't know. I feel like generally the benefit to, and I'm going to take the studio and the devs and their business side of things out of it. I kind of feel like it is helpful for the community, like the gamer community, not content creator, in a whole, because it gets people excited. It gets people trying to go places that maybe they weren't going to go in the first place. It makes things happen, because I know a lot of times, uh, Tarkov, like any hardcore game, sometimes things look super unattainable, and it's when you can give someone that one item that then gives them the confidence to say, hey, let's, okay, screw it, I got it, who cares. Then you start to get into some fun raids. Dude, I've run into people who had no business rushing into Kiba, and that moment is just hilarious. It's kind of fun to talk over with your buddies how that raid went and whatnot. But it's that kind of dynamic that I think does add to the game a lot more than it takes away.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and this isn't a hill I'm going to die on, right? If they want to keep the drops, that's fine, keep the drops. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't really bother me that much. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as like the gifts. So, and I totally see the value in having the drops. It's this huge tool that has literally catapulted Tarkov into somewhat of the mainstream, right? So you cannot deny the fact that this has been good for the game. It's just a little weird. That's like, yeah, it's just a little weird.
Well, see, you're speaking as someone who did not get, like I said, milk and paper sent to them by proper. So I'm all hydrated and ready over here.
But like going back to the Tarkov community, because we've been touching on that a little bit. I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, or maybe it was just in conversation. But like the Tarkov community versus the squad community, I think the drops and just how BSG handles that and just how big that game is, it's like very different to it's a very different community as far as content creation goes, than the squad community. And I think that like the drops has enabled that. Like BSG does a good job of like trying to get all the creators together to like host certain streams or get on the podcast. There's They've done a really good job. They've done a fantastic job growing and enabling their community and their creators, and it's just really awesome to see. It's they I really do think BSG is going to be a case study in the future for how games should use influencers or streams or that kind of content to market games, just because they've done such an amazing job. Like that community is so tight knit. It grows and grows and grows. People are helping each other. People are teaching each other. It's like you said, it's literally almost career building, right? They're almost creating these jobs because content creators come on and they feel that void of like, hey, entertainment or instruction or whatever that may be. And Tarkov is there and BSG is there to facilitate that. And I think that's like something that all game devs should really take a look at, because you can see it has paid off for them, right? Like, yes,
100%.
the content creators benefit, but it's a mutually beneficial strategy, because god damn, I think what happens sometimes is some game studios are like, you get into this weird area where game studios get a little touchy or like, hey, you're making money off of what we made, or like, hey, they might be making more money than what we're making, right? Like there's this weird dance sometimes, right, between content creators and game studio or developers, and I think Tarkov is just a real clear example of how both can succeed and thrive if both work together, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, just the care and thought that goes into almost every move. And we've talked in about studios in the past, from various tactical games or tactical shooters, these milsim games, on like, for example, Hell Let Loose is very active in their community. Completely different type of game, but super active in communication and things like that. They help promote their own creators as well. But Battle State and Tarkov, it's on a completely other level. It's almost, I think, the only one that I can think of that does it 100%. Maybe yeah, it does it probably a little bit better just because of the way the game is probably Fortnite with creator codes and things of that nature, and the integration. That's obviously a much bigger game than Tarkov. But even like Call of Duty, which you think would have that same type of power within esports and content creators and things like that, the tie-ins and the communication and just being, it's unheard of what Battle State has done. And it's really cool to be able to kind of look around, and it really does feel like a community, not just a community of content creators, but a community with the studio. And I think that's very important, to not feel like you're alone. If you are doing things like making YouTube guides or just gameplay videos or clips or whatever it is, streaming on whatever platform, sometimes depending on the game, you can feel like you're just by yourself. And I don't think, if you asked anybody out there that is in that streams Tarkov or makes content for Tarkov, they're gonna feel like they're alone, or the studio isn't there in some form of fashion.
Yeah.
Anything from Pestily's Punisher tournaments up into things like the drops. I mean, this amazing. I don't have anything negative to say.
They've not only acknowledged their creator community, but they've literally like fully embraced it and integrated it, which is like, I don't think any game studio has gone that far into, integrating their content creator community. And I hope being a content creator and just seeing how successful it is, like, I hope this is a sign of like the strategy for the future and things to come, because I think it's a powerful thing. Like, I know you and I and almost any content creator for any game would love to feel more involved, or love to feel, a little bit more, I don't know what the word is. But the better integration between game studios and content creators, rather than, hey, I make videos on your game, right? Because I think if you leverage both sides of like, hey, the game studios offering integration and the content creators offering entertainment or that communication, like, I think that really helps the community of the game feel more aligned or involved than just game studio players, right? Because it feels like you have a voice or representation to some degree.
Yeah, it's an actual synergy. It's You're actually working with each other, and some people might say, you're not working, you're playing a video game. Like, it feels very different when you play a video game and when you make content for the video game. And I think even if you're just playing this game, people in the community probably have that same type of feeling that content creators do. And it's just very involved. And I mean, you get Nikita replying to Reddit posts. like that is cool. And that's something that they take a lot of pride in, being big proponents of at least keeping a finger on the pulse of the community. Whether or not they're going to implement it is another thing, but it's awesome. And I think for the most part, this wipe has felt really good. I think, the timing of some of the gifts and type of that, maybe, I know it rang a little weird for a lot of people, but overall, I've felt super confident going into this wipe, and over the past couple weeks, where I'm just like, dude, I love this game. I'm loving the community. I'm loving the people I'm playing with. I'm loving the people I'm watching. I'm loving just streaming it. Like, I'm having a blast playing this, and that's exciting going into the brand new year, brand new wipe with a lot of content on the horizon, and just being super, super excited about the direction of the game.
Yeah, they've definitely done a good job of, and we talked about this, I think, last podcast, like hope, right? Or excitement for the future of their game, right? Battle State's managed to keep that going. Granted, it might take them months between wipes to do it, but they always manage. Every time they come back, it's a banger. Every time.
Good, dude.
Yeah, every time. It's a big one, like, every time they do it. So more consistency would be great, but definitely some great things ahead, I think, for Tarkov. Hopefully, you know, they keep on chugging along. They got a lot of momentum. They've got a huge community behind them, and I like the game's fun. I enjoy playing it. I want to play it more. I just don't want to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm done playing this because I have everything. So it's a weird balance, but I'm happy with where Tarkov is.
Me too. I'm having a blast.
Mhm.
Absolute blast.
Yeah. What are we thinking for next week on the next podcast? It's been slow all around. Like, I don't know. What do we?
I have no idea, but you know what? I'm gonna say this now. The people are asking for it. You know what I'm gonna say.
Face
They
cam.
want to. They're listening on Spotify and they don't care. They're listening on Google Podcasts and they don't care. But I'm talking to you, the few people who do watch on YouTube. They want to see us.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. We gotta tidy some things up, but I think next week might be the week.
Yeah, I will say I look fantastic. I'm bright, like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You know, going into 10 p.m. after streaming for 6 hours, being up since 5 a.m. I cannot
Perfect.
wait to be on camera for another hour. It's gonna be great.
That's how it is. That's how it should be.
We'll come up with something. But yeah, guys, I've had an awesome past couple weeks playing Tarkov. If you guys haven't had time in the wipe, just jump on in. I think it's still on sale, right? For like another couple days.
I think
Good
so.
time to get it. Even if you already have it, all the upgrades as well are like 25% off or something. But we'll find something to talk with tomorrow. Enjoy the Tarkov.
Mhm.
I'm having fun with it.
Definitely a lot of fun.
Where can they find you?
YouTube.com/Karmika as always. And what about you, Moy?
Twitch.tv/Moydog and YouTube.com/Moydog.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up this episode for this week. Once again, a pleasure as always. Hopefully some exciting news throughout this week. But yeah, until next time, Moydog and everyone, thank you so much once again. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Make sure you hit that button so that you're following us. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Google. Follow the Twitter, all that cool stuff to get updates. And we will have a lot of cool stuff planned for 2021. Maybe, maybe some giveaways. I don't know, some cool stuff. We'll do some cool stuff.
Are we gonna entice people to listen? And there's like one person listening to the last 5 seconds of this podcast be like, giveaways? Yes.
I don't know. I'd like to do some more fun stuff, some more interactive stuff. I think the camera should work for sure. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Really do appreciate it. And until next time, be safe, be happy. Peace out.
Peace.